Erika Kirk was at the center of an internet phenomenon known as JD Gate, we'll call it. And it was when he was coming out for a speech, they hugged, and it was a very friendly hug. This followed him saying that he hopes his wife Usha will stop being Hindu. You know how husbands say. And so then people ran with this conspiracy theory that Erika and JD's going to leave Usha and is going to be with Erika, and then it'll be like this right-wing politics power couple. I delivered that to all of you and shared with you where I thought people were going a little bit crazy and where I thought the discussion was perfectly fine. But it got so prominent, that whole thing, where even right-wingers were jumping in on it and all this stuff, that she addressed it at a Megyn Kelly event. And something just feels so uncomfortable about this. Just so uncomfortable. Where she's up on that stage addressing whether or not she's having an affair with JD. Which, I don't know. To me, it's like, don't give energy to internet jokes like that. But okay. She addressed it. Let's see.
Forgive me. Did you see people didn't understand the hug that you and JD had? They went to the weirdest places, Erika.
Oh my gosh. You guys, please. So for those of you who know me, I hug is
yes,
like.
You're an intense hugger. It's awesome.
Whoever is like hating on a hug needs a hug themselves. I will give you a free hug anytime you want a hug. My love language is touch, if you will. But seriously, that hug. So I will give you a play-by-play. Like walking, they just played the emotional video. I'm walking over, he's walking over, I'm starting to cry. He says, he's so proud of you. And I say, God bless you. And I touch the back of his head. Anyone who I've hugged that I have touched the back of your head when I hug you, I always say, God bless you. That's just me. If you want to take that out of context, go right ahead. Again, that to me shows that you need a hug more than anyone else. So if anyone...
They were acting like you touched the back of his ass.
I feel like I wouldn't get as much hate if I did that versus... But no, seriously, so now when I go and hug people, I'll bring them back in and be like, I obviously didn't give you the right hug. Like, come, let me touch the back of your head.
Where do the hands go?
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Can't touch the head. What can I touch?
I know. I'll just...
Not me. I'm always like, if you touch the back of my head, I'm like, oh, she's feeling the extensions.
So... Here's, I make a really strong effort to be as transparent as I can on this show. So let me lay out a few thoughts, and then we're going to talk about the broader MAGA civil war here, okay? Just listen, okay? I have already explained to all of you that there's a little bit of a tough spot here because she's now the CEO of Turning Point USA, a very powerful right-wing political organization. So I'm not one of those who says because this horrific thing happened to her husband being murdered, that now her being in a leadership position, she can't be criticized as now a very influential MAGA figure. Like, she has taken the reins of a huge MAGA organization. We obviously oppose the MAGA objectives. And so there's going to be plenty of cases where we need to level criticism, even as I do try to be sensitive to what happened. And so that's just right. That's there. So then now she's this MAGA celebrity. She's running probably the most powerful youth politics organization in the country. And that's going to come with it the same thing that happens to everyone else in politics, which is you hug someone weird, all these theories run wild about you, you do this, you do that. JD's over there like, this Usha lady just can't stop being Hindu. What the hell? And that's causing people to ask questions about his intentions. But... I personally, and you guys did not like this, okay? The comments, I saw them when I covered this last time, because people were posting thumbnails that were like the two of them making out with each other, which was made by AI. So I was just saying, maybe we're going a little bit far, and I think that makes people seem a little loco. And I personally don't think it comes off very rational to see them hug and then be like, oh, they're banging so hard. Oh, yeah. I just think it comes off weird. Like, maybe you think it. Hopefully not what I just said, but maybe you think like, oh, that was interesting. But the whole like, here we go. It's Erika Vance now. Like, just seemed a little bit, it was the internet. And internet gets funky. To which all of the top comments on that video that I made were, oh, Luke, they banging. They banging hard. And you're naive. Now, the other thing is, everyone's analyzing the hug. I just find that weird. There's such important things. And even, we just have, I think we might cover on the bonus show or somewhere else, a story about something Turning Point USA is doing that is very MAGA and wrong. And so I would like to keep it on the more important stuff than like tabloid, who's with who type things. But then the other aspect to it, I'm circling back around to some of the thoughts y'all share with me, is I'm such a hugger. And so I'm probably the wrong person to speak on this because I just be hugging maybe a little bit too intimately. You know, like I think if you took a snapshot of me hugging some of the people I hug, you'd be like, so they're together. They're definitely romantically involved, and we're not. So I'm probably the wrong person to judge. But she says that I guess. But then with Love, that reaction was so weird too. It was like, I bet they wouldn't even have as much problem if I squeeze his butt cheeks. Oh, imagine if I just grabbed his butt cheeks and squeezed them. Okay. I don't know. It's all weird. I just can't help you with it. I can't help. Okay. So with that being said, there is a MAGA civil war going on. And it's fascinating. It's just fascinating. All of the different characters. What side are they taking? Who's calling out who? And Tim Pool jumped into the mix saying that kind of Turning Point is in crisis for obvious reason, understandable reason. But it goes deeper than they're letting on publicly. And then he also talks about Candace Owens and how she's going after Turning Point USA.
Right. I don't know. You know, what I will say is there's a good point you made about TPUSA is absolutely reeling. And nobody wants to say anything publicly because everybody, you know, look, man, I've been talking to a handful of people behind the scenes, and I'll give them some respect by not saying their names. But everyone's very pessimistic. And their concern is that, and I said it before, I'll say it again, Turning Point's not going to make it without Charlie.
No.
Behind the scenes, everybody's like, of course. Then on camera, most people are just like, well, you know, and I'm like, well, you know me, dude. If nobody speaks out and calls it out now, the whole thing breaks apart.
Right.
If no one has the strength, just be like, guys, Candace is ripping everything apart for views, and there needs to be, I don't know, man. I don't know how you help Turning Point without Charlie. That's just the reality of it. But if everybody just wants to be quiet and pretend, this is why the right loses all the time. The Washington Generals. Democrats are the Harlem.
Right.
Democrats are the Harlem Globetrotters. Is that what you're about to say? I wish I lived in whatever world he lives in, where the Democrats are the Harlem Globetrotters and the Republicans are the Washington Generals. Why is it that in this analogy or metaphor or whatever, I went to school a lot of years. Shut up. Why is it that the Washington Generals have this horrible orange guy who's never played basketball, but somehow he goes and wins the game twice against the Harlem Globetrotters? I've never been to a Harlem Globetrotters game, well, at all, but also I haven't been to one or seen one where the Generals mop the floor with the Trotters. So I don't know if that works well. But did y'all see he references Candace Owens? She's, I guess, I tried. We covered some stories at the beginning of her whole series on the Kirk assassination. I can't even keep up now. I feel like what she's alleging changes too frequently where I don't have time in the day to keep up with it. It would be interesting to cover, but she's all over the place. And now I guess she announced that someone's trying to assassinate her, and it's Emmanuel Macron. I heard a news anchor say it that way. Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron are trying to assassinate her. She's alleging. I haven't seen the evidence, but apparently that's happening. If anyone's trying to assassinate her, stop. That's bad. also she's in the business of making a lot of incorrect claims, a lot. So I'm skeptical, obviously. But apparently Tim Pool thinks she's doing it for views. Tim Pool. Oh gosh. This is a bummer. I don't like any of these people. I don't like any of them. So it's like I can't even be satisfied by any of the little jabs they're making at each other. Because what am I going to be cheering for Tim Pool? He's like, all of our views are down because I'm telling too much of the truth and people want conspiracy theories. And it's like, your views are down because no one likes you.
In other words, Candace Owens has gone full Alex. Can we pull this back up? Candace Owens has.
And yes, conspiracy theorists are getting a lot of views. So both are true. Well, you're wrong. I think your views are down because you are just uninteresting. I think you're correct, though, that slop content that drives stimulation and conspiracy theorizing is getting more and more popular in the right wing.
Gone full Alex Jones. Now that is wrong. Alex is not this crazy. And it sure draws eyeballs. Her YouTube has 5.6 million subs, 7 million followers on X. The first episode in a Macron series, Becoming Bridget, an introduction, got 5 million views. Guys, Candace is really good at social engineering. She's really, really good at it. Mm-hmm. In the previous segment, for those that are just tuning in, we discussed how you use manipulative language. Sorry, and the corporate press does this all the time. One example I like to give.
Okay, Tim. I'm so bored. This was the part I was going to play.
There's a lot of conversations that are happening behind the scenes with prominent personalities in the independent media space, libertarian, conservative, etc. And I spare drawing people into drama. That's why I'm not going to call anybody out. But I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've mentioned this over the past week or so. Everybody knows that views right now in politics are in the gutter.
Okay.
Candace is doing very, very well, though.
Right.
And I think, look, if you want to get my professional marketing assessment of this, you take a look at some of these prominent personalities, and I don't want to denigrate, so I'm not going to name them, but guys, I'm telling you this right now. Go on YouTube, pull up whatever conservative personalities that you've heard of, and look at their view count, and you'll see they've dropped dramatically. You'll all see Candace is doing pretty dang well. The conversation behind the scenes, everyone knows why. It's exactly as you've described. If people always need the next level, we've talked about this in the past about how they call Trump Hitler. It starts with saying, Trump is bad, then Trump is racist, then Trump is very racist, then he's the most racist, then he's almost as bad as Hitler, then he's as bad as Hitler, then he's worse than Hitler. Because if they write the same...
Who calls Trump worse than Hitler? Who calls him that? Worse than Hitler? Show me a relevant, influential Democrat who has called him worse than Hitler.
Same article, Trump is racist, nobody clicks it. So they got to give you it's the hit's got to get bigger. You don't feel it anymore. Behind the scenes, everybody is pissed off because they're like, I wish I was as evil as some of these people where I can just lie to get the views. But if you make a video where you're like, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns, here are my thoughts. Everyone knows, bro, everyone knows Marjorie Taylor Greene's resigning. So why are they going to watch you over anybody else? As more people enter the space, and we're at the back end of a political year, which was this year is ending and it was a non-political year. Views are going to be in the gutter, revenue is going to be down, and people are going to be feeling it. You got two choices. Stay true, dance with the ebb and the flow. Next year's midterms, views will start increasing for political content. I'm sorry, you got three choices.
One thing, just so you know, is inside baseballing this much is, I don't think, very interesting to listen to. Occasionally we wade into those waters of like, let me tell you about, and it is important to inform people that, just so you know, if algorithms are incentivizing engagement, then really provocative stuff is going to be more engaging. And so I've always encouraged you, and we built a really amazing audience being very truthful to my views and not overplaying things for views. And we've had to give up good amounts of views in areas that I'm not okay with prioritizing the views over. Not just the truth, that's obvious, which is true, by the way, as Tucker would say. But even just how you present the truth. Are you trying to stimulate it as much up as possible and wind people up as much as possible? Or are you being deeply truthful, even in the tone and the tenor of how it's being delivered? And so that's perfectly fair to bring up. I've explained that to all of you. What bothers me is when people who helped build that incentive structure, like Tim Pool, who himself has grifted a ton for views, who's just like become a MAGA guy because he needed a lane, and that was the one that worked for him. Like, he started saying he was kind of liberal, and I think he started seeing some success going, I'm a liberal, but I'm agreeing with the right on this, and then just slowly became full on hardcore MAGA. So hearing it from people like him, who also don't actually often create unique and interesting content. Sometimes he does, but it's usually because he brings interesting people to debate each other. But he himself, I don't think, is very good at delivering information in a way that's actually riveting to hear, even if it's not hyperbolic, which you can do both. I don't hyperbolize things, but I also hope that I'm able to deliver in a way that makes it more interesting for you to listen to, just with the style that is being delivered. But I mean, that is true that, number one, it's not the case that politics in general, the views are way down. Myself and a lot of the people that I know in liberal independent media are doing great, but maybe conservative media, he's saying, I think a part of that has to do with, think about if you rode the Trump wave. This surge of like jumping on the Trump bandwagon, and now Trump's administration spiraling so hard, you're going to lose so many people, obviously. You put all your eggs in the MAGA basket, and now MAGA is a mess. So it makes sense that conservative media would be a little bit more disoriented, and views would be a little less certain. And what does that mean? Well, then, yeah, to get views in that environment, doing right of center media, you can either do the Benny Johnson full pro-Trump propagandist for the percentage of the country that still likes Trump, or you can get into really conspiracy theorizing, just all about the salaciousness type content. And that's working for some people. I think Candace being the most prominent example. But sorry, Tim, I don't know. What was his take? Sorry? Or no, call them out. That's what I would say. Call them out. If you're talking to other conservative influencers who are not willing to say publicly that they have critiques for Candace because they're afraid of her audience or something, call them out publicly. Say they know. They know, and they're not willing to do it. Yeah, that's my encouragement for Tim.